Alright, so this is video number 11 of the boxMan tutorial, and this is part 7, I believe, part 7 of rigging. Alright, so I know I went over pole vectors briefly in the last video. I was running out of time, so let me just cover that right now. I made a group for each pole vector, and I just named it the name of the pole vector _grp. It's really important. I noticed I had an error in one of my namings, and it's a very slight error, but it can definitely mess up stuff like, let's say, if you're writing code for this, if you want to use expressions to do different stuff for the controls, little things like this can mess it up. So notice I have, let's see, where is the, okay, so I have left knee PV, left elbow PV, but right here I have left elbow _PV, and I just want to make, I need to make this everything the same as the or just like all the other ones basically. Each of these pivot points on all these pole vectors should be centered on the actual object, but the group pivot point, groups have their own pivot point. So objects inside of a group can have their own pivot point, and groups can have their own pivot point. You could even group that group, and it could have its own pivot point. And so basically, that's how we're going to get past that parenting issue that I showed you before, where like you try and move the parent and the child snaps back, or sorry, you try and move the master and the slave snaps back where it was. Remember when I tried to move the sphere, the cube snapped back, but when I parented it, it didn't happen. So we're going to do constraining, but we're going to avoid that snapping issue. Just going to make sure that our pivot points of our groups for the knee pole vectors are going to be on the ankle joints, and the pivot points for the elbow pole vectors are going to be on the shoulder joints. And quick little pro tip, if you want to go up or down in the hierarchy, you can use the arrow keys. So I just hit up to select the group, and I'm going to hit DV middle mouse drag on the shoulder. Making sure all the things are zeroed out, freeze transformations, and I'm going to just go ahead and reconstrain that IK. So select, oh sorry, it's already been constrained. So I'm going to parent constrain that group to the ankle. So I'm going to select the ankle joint, control select the correct group right there, and I'm going to do constrain parent with the option box, make sure maintain offset is on, going to hit add, and so now when I move this around, see how the pole vector moves with it, and then I can even rotate this, the pole vector still moves with it. But if I want to change where the knee is actually, see I can move this around, the knee changes, still move the ankle independent, or sorry, the knee moves with it. You can do a certain lock to undo, or sorry, to move that independently. I'm not going to cover it in this tutorial, but it's basically it's using set driven key to turn the parent constraint on and off. I mean, this is the basic knee pole vector setup, so that you can control where the knee is facing. And the arm is basically the same way. So you want to basically first set up the hands. So I did not do that in the last video. Constrain points on the IK, select the control joint, constrain orient, make sure we have maintain offset, we do, and then I'm going to select the curve, IK, and I'm going to constrain pole vector, and then I'm going to select this joint right here, and going to control, or if you're on a Mac, Apple, select the group of the left shoulder pole vector. The reason why you don't do shift is, well, watch the outliner. If I do Apple, or control, it actually clicks only that. If I click that shoulder joint, then try and do shift, well, it could not work. Or if I try it one more time, well, I guess they updated in my 2010. Basically, what would happen if you did that and you did shift, it would highlight everything else in the hierarchy above it. I wonder if it'll still do that actually if I do that. Yeah, there we go. So if it's shown, it highlights everything in the hierarchy, and you do not want to parent constrain everything. You only want to parent constrain that one, the group of the pull vector. So going to select this right here, going to Apple or Control select the left pull vector group, which the pivot point has been snapped to the shoulder. And I believe, okay, yeah, we are 0, 0. That small decimal point was freaking me out, but I think that's just the joint. And we're going to do parent. Oops, did it move? Moved barely. I don't like the moving. Hold on. Parent option box. And it moves. Why are you moving? I think that this pivot point actually isn't snapped perfectly on there. There we go. See, it wasn't snapped. So I'm just going to freeze transformations again. It's a slight issue, but it is important. So that one was snapped, so that's good. Alright, so joint. And do not select it, do not shift select this in the outlier because you're selecting curve, you're not selecting the group of the curve. So, sorry, not in the outliner. This is the viewport. Don't do it in the viewport, do it in the outliner. Alright, so we're going to do parent. And I'm really surprised that it keeps moving. It might be because the, let's see, the joint. Oh, I usually have it on a chest control, that's why. Sorry, I actually forgot one of my, well, I mean, I usually do a more complicated setup for, basically for stuff that would have a chest and like a torso twist, but I guess I won't do that in this one. So we'll ignore the little jump that we're getting right now. You shouldn't get that jump. Oops, I did it completely backwards. You shouldn't get that jump, so don't worry about it too much. But see, if I move this guy around, oh, the control, oh, it actually does move with it. Oh, okay, alright, so sorry, ignore what I said about that shoulder. Basically, you want to, we're just going to actually parent constrain to this control right here, the hips upper. So select the hips upper and Apple or Control select the left elbow group. Control, parent. Alright, so now we can move this around and see, we can move the elbow down and up like that. And we can also move the wrist. Everything works out. When you're testing stuff, it's always good to grab it in the center. I see students sometimes grabbing it by one axis and doing this, and doing that. That's great. They're like, oh, it works fine, but I mean, you still have this one other axis that could completely break it. So if you do this in the center and just kind of do this, you want to basically try and break your rig. If you can't break it, it's good. And I mean, you basically want to put stuff in weird positions so that any theoretical position that you might have while animating, you want to try and do that, because if you're a rigger, you definitely don't want to hand it off to your animator and have them complain all over that stuff isn't working right. So I'm going to select this hips upper and the hips upper joint. There we go. Going to do a constrain orient. So now I can move this around like that. And see, that also moves the elbow pull vector. That's how it should. It also moves the entire upper body, which is good. That arm stays locked back there, which is what should happen. And then I'm going to select this and grab the hips lower and do a, let's see, I'm going to do a parent constraint on the hips lower. Let's see, parent constraint, apply. I really hope I didn't do parent constraint on this. Okay, good. And then I'm going to group this finally and do a parent constraint on that group so that it always moves like that. And I think we're running to the end of this video, but we've got one more constraint and we're basically done. During the break, I'm going to set up the right side of the body and you guys can see it in action when I come back.